Ladies and gentlemen, it is finally here. Opening night of the National Football League season. My name is Steve Mathis. You can find me on Twitter at Judge Mathis. I am joined, as always, by my co-host Dave Tilton. You can find him on Twitter at Tilt Money. Together, we are the Bills guys. And boy, do we have a show lined up for you this evening. For the next 4 hours, ladies and gentlemen, I just want you to turn us on, and then I want you to turn the game on. Whatever's bothering you, whether it's work or family or the coronavirus, all that ails you is gone for the next 4 hours, ladies and gentlemen, because football is back. David, football is back. How are you feeling?
Football's back, and let me tell you something. That new intro, if you guys, whoever didn't see that in the beginning, man, that got my juices flowing a little bit, and I'm ready, man. It's going to be a super fun night. We've got the show tonight. We got a great opening game tonight. Obviously, there will be no fans, but I mean, what a great matchup, rematch of a playoff game from a year ago. We can sit back and relax, watch it, see how we're gonna, stack up against two of these AFC powerhouses that are playing tonight. Chiefs are powerhouse. Texans, we'll see, but hey. And yeah, football is officially back, man. Now it's like, this is almost like, I always like in the opening Thursday night game, it's kind of a tease, right? Because you get this one game, then you got to wait another 3 days for like the main course, right? Where all the rest of the games come in. But man, what an exciting day. Like, we made it to this point. We're going to have the game. Made it through the coronavirus stuff with the NFL. And man, we're going to kick off tonight. It's going to be great.
And I'll tell you what, I'm just leaning into it at this point, because a lot of people like to rib me a couple of weeks ago when I was finishing off a half bottle of wine that my fiance and I had sitting in the fridge from a camping trip. Some people decided to light into me. So you know what? I'm just going to lean into it tonight, and I have a full bottle of wine that I plan on being gone by the end of this broadcast, ladies and gentlemen.
What that basically means is that I'm going to have to take over the board at some point during tonight's show, because
don't you worry, football is back, baby.
Could get rowdy. I'm glad. And for those of you who knew that Steve drank that other bottle, he actually switched prior to the show. He was going to go with a red, but he switched it for the white right before the show. So I think it's going to be a little easier down the hatch for him that way.
Yeah. All right, let's talk Bills football a little bit before we get into the commercials. I know a couple of people, they want that commercial, but we're gonna tease you a little bit. We want to get right into the action, and I think the number one thing that stood out today was the injury list that came out for the Buffalo Bills. For two straight days, Josh Norman is DNP, did not participate in practice with that hamstring injury. So it appears like Josh Norman's probably going to be a no-go for Sunday. Are you ready for another year of Levi Wallace? What are your expectations for that CB2 on Sunday?
I mean, I'm not ready for another entire year of Levi Wallace, but honestly, we've done it before, so it's not like the one thing. Like, I expect Josh Norman to be the guy even when he's healthy. It is nice to have a guy like Levi Wallace in the wings who has experience playing full season at that spot, to know that if one of your guys goes down, you can plug him in. Now, we talked about before, like Levi Wallace bulked up a little bit in the weight room. He's not the speediest guy, and he wasn't always the most physical guy. So we'll see if that changes a little bit as he's kind of seen, what Josh Norman brings to the table there. So I will say this, the timing isn't bad for the Bills, and we're going to get into that tonight as I throw up the refs super chat here, because the matchup, and we're going to get into all these matchups, isn't dire, right? It's not like we're going against the Chiefs this week. It's not like we're going against, the Rams, right, with their good receivers. So it's the Jets. So you like to see him practice. You like to see him get back out there. But if he were to miss a game, I'm not overly concerned that it being this week.
Yeah, I think we got a Jets fan in the house here, ladies and gentlemen. Andrew Walker says, guy on the left kind of reminds me of Charlie Day. Hell yeah, wild card bitches.
Check out his profile pic on Twitter. He pasted his face over Charlie Day's body.
The ref, I love your prediction there, 427 Jets. I know we're going to get to our prediction at the end of the show, ask some more people for their predictions. I mean, that's what today's all about. Predictions, excitement. What are we going to do to this New York Jets team? Because Andrew Walker, let me tell you, we're going to beat them. It ain't going to be close on Sunday. It ain't going to be close. I'm feeling that confident. And in the realm of Josh Norman, I think it would be important to note that if Josh Norman does not go on Sunday, I think that we are going to see the first use of that practice squad call-up. I don't know if the Bills, because I've seen a couple of highlights in camp this week. Saran Neal is playing the boundary, and he's getting worked over. So I think we could see a Cam Lewis call-up this week if Josh Norman is a no-go. Or Dane Jackson, but more likely Cam Lewis.
Yeah, I would say more likely Cam Lewis, also because Dane Jackson has been banged up recently as well. Now, I don't know if he's fully over that injury, but you'd probably bring up Cam Lewis in that situation just based on the fact that he might be even a little healthier. Dan Brown, thank you for the super chat here. Levi should be fine. The Jets don't have a good receiving core, and our D-line should set the tone. I mean, this is kind of what the crux of the argument is about Josh Norman not being like a must-have guy in the lineup this week because of that reason, amongst others. So the one thing, and like everyone says this, right? So it's not new, but like the soft tissue stuff, you don't rush it, right? You let it get fully healed. Even if you think it's like almost all the way there, you probably want to play it cautious this first game, especially with you see like all these guys dropping like flies across the NFL. You don't want Josh Norman to go down early in the season. So you be cautious with it. Sit him down if he's not ready. And Levi, I agree with Dan, should be fine in week 1.
All right, let's. Can you take a second and just shout out some people in the chat? I see Akash is here. Chris Janicki is here. Bo Bandy's in the house. Daniel Gowry's in the house. Who else we got in the house tonight?
Elliot's in the house. Cody Finney, of course, is always in. Noah Bruno's in the house. Dan Magnus, another, becoming a regular of ours. Dan is. We've got Daniel. You mentioned Rico. The man himself is in the house. Pierre is in the house. Bobby's in the house. So we've got the big wigs are in the house tonight, guys. They must be realizing it's an important show for us tonight. So, Josh Barrett's in the house. Richard Rush, Dan Brown. We know. I don't know if Michael Teal's in. I hadn't seen him, but Andrew Miller's in. So we've got Truth to Hearts is in. And so we've got most of our regulars in already. So.
Dried Ocean, don't worry. We got you covered. We're not going to go 1 hour to the dot, though. We're going to go right up to kickoff. I got the television screen up here. All right, don't you worry. When the ball kicks off, the Bills guys will be off air because I will be watching this game.
We might give it a 2 or 3 minute cushion.
Yeah, we might give it 2 or 3 minutes.
So you can get your drinks ready.
Yeah. We got another one from the ref here. He says, we have the Jets outmatched at every single position. There's one position I'm concerned about, and we're going to get to that tonight during the matchup. So that's a little preview. I'm a little bit worried. I think their defensive line we're taking the defensive line of the New York Jets for granted a little bit. But before, ladies and gentlemen, we get to all of the previews, all of the action, all of that good stuff. Listen, I'm not going to lie to you. Before about 2 weeks ago, I thought I was a manscaper. I really did. I thought I was a gentleman. I thought I was refined. I thought I was a manscaper. It turns out that I was just a guy who shaved his body hair. It wasn't until Manscaped sent me the lawnmower. It wasn't until Manscaped sent me the lawnmower, this razor right here, that I truly felt like a refined gentleman, that I finally felt like a true manscaper. Don't be ashamed, ladies and gentlemen. You got a little bit of extra hair on the shoulder, got a little bit of extra hair on the balls. Just clip it off. It's a natural thing. Just clip it off. Manscaped.com. You get 20% off plus free shipping of your purchase using the promo code Fanatics. Again, we are proud to be sponsored by Manscaped. Refining the gentleman. Get 20% off plus free shipping on your next purchase using the promo code Fanatics. All right. Now that we got the promos out of the way, you got the Reviver right there. It's a ball toner.
Yeah. So let me just tell you, the wife appreciated the smell. I'll say that. And don't I know you're thinking, but she did not. No, it wasn't where you think it was. She just tested it out, and she liked the smell. So yeah, I'm gonna have to go ahead and get the toner going here pretty soon because hey, could be good things for me if that's the case. All
right. So here's honestly, this is the biggest question because I think I think CB2 is solved. CB2 is solved because Josh Norman is out. We understand what CB2 is. CB2 is going to be Levi Wallace. So let's talk about the biggest question mark right now, okay? And that is the right side of the offensive line. Sean McDermott pulling some trickery.
God.
On the initial Buffalo Bills depth chart, at right guard, he has Cody Ford, Daryl Williams, and Brian Winters listed in that order. Ford, Williams, Winters. And then at right tackle, Ty Nsekhe, Cody Ford, Ty Nsekhe, and then I believe Daryl Williams. So that leads me, Dave, to believe our offensive line is probably going to be a combination of one of two things. It's either going to be Cody Ford at right guard and Ty Nsekhe at right tackle, or Daryl Williams at right guard and Ty Nsekhe at right tackle. What do you think we're going to see on the right side of the offensive line, and what do you prefer?
Yeah, so I think the last thing you just said, I think you meant to say Cody Ford at right tackle with Williams at guard. But I will say this. There's two schools of thought here. First school of thought is that you get Ford in there at right guard and Nsekhe there at right tackle. And in my mind, that probably gives you your best right side combination that you can ask for without John Feliciano, but it leaves you vulnerable at backup left tackle should something happen to Deion Dawkins. You're going to have to trust someone like a Ryan Bates or a Daryl Williams to fill that role, and I don't know that I'm ready to do that. Now, you obviously don't want to assume injury, but you need to have a contingency plan. I'm not personally a fan of trying to play Daryl Williams at right guard, but the Bills really must be low on Brian Winters because the dude's third on the depth chart at right guard, and they have a guy, Daryl Williams, who really struggled at guard when he was with the Panthers. He's more of a right tackle ahead of him on the depth chart. So you have a guy who's like a natural tackle who's ahead of a true guard on the depth chart. So I wonder if this is a situation where you might see still some rotation or some mixing and matching even after the games start. Meaning we saw Nsekhe rotate with Ford at right tackle last year. I'm wondering if you could see that again. I don't want that to happen. If it was me, I would roll the dice and just throw Ford at right guard and Nsekhe at right tackle to open the year to give you your best possible combination and just pray to God that there's no injury to Deion Dawkins. That's what I would do right now, given the situation.
Yeah, got a couple of comments in the comment section I like. Andrew Miller says that he would like to see Ford and Williams. I don't know, Andrew, if you mean Ford at right guard and Williams at right tackle. If that's what you mean, I don't think you're going to see that because Daryl Williams was listed as the number 2 right guard. Brian Winters was listed as number 3 right guard. Ty Nsekhe was the number 2 right tackle behind Cody Ford. So that would lead you to believe if Cody Ford is starting at right guard, Ty Nsekhe is starting at right tackle. And then Chris Janke says, I'm wondering why we even kept Brian Winters. I'm with you. Like I know Evan Bain is sitting on the practice squad and he's protected. I get that. Maybe the Bills want to see like what happens week 1. I wouldn't be surprised if Brian Winters wasn't long for this roster. Like if Cody Ford and if it's either if it's Daryl Williams and Cody Ford, or if it's Cody Ford and Ty Nsekhe, if either or meshes well the first couple of weeks of the season, I wouldn't be surprised if we cut Brian Winters loose and brought Evan Bain up and put another prospecty type of guy on the practice squad because the guy has no position flex whatsoever. He can only play right guard. He can only play right guard.
Or when Feliciano's ready to come back, you cut Brian Winters and just put Feliciano on the roster.
And Bobby says, how bad has Williams looked that Nsekhe will start? I don't know what that means because in my opinion, Ty Nsekhe is one of the best players on this offensive line. It's Mitch Morse, Deion Dawkins, and then Ty Nsekhe is the 3rd best player on this offensive line. He's a good quality offensive tackle. He's probably a better left tackle than he is a right tackle. He probably is better on the left side, a little bit more agile, a little bit more fluid over there. You need a little bit more strength to play the right side. But I legitimately think he's our best right tackle.
Yep.
If he doesn't start on Sunday, it's because they want to have him healthy if Deion Dawkins gets hurt. Because if Deion Dawkins gets hurt and Ty Nsekhe is hurt, then Ryan freaking Bates is your left tackle, and ain't nobody want that. So I think in my heart of hearts, the Buffalo Bills would like Cody Ford to be their right tackle. But even at the end of the day, I think it's going to be Cody Ford right guard, Ty Nsekhe right tackle, and they're going to let that play out. If Ford struggles, which I don't think he will, maybe they'll put in Brian Winters or Daryl Williams and let and let's Cody Ford and Ty Nsekhe go back to that rotation. But I think when John Feliciano comes back is when they're really going to make a decision. I wouldn't be surprised if the Bills go with the offensive line the Bills go with the first 10, 11, 12 weeks of the season is not the offensive line they finish with. I think John Feliciano is going to have a say about playing time when he gets healthy.
And also, the Bills are kind of a little bit massaging or protecting Cody Ford's ego here a little bit, if we're going to be perfectly honest, because they got him atop of both the right guard and right tackle spot. They could have, done the other, they could have done it the other way around. They could have had Williams at both and Ford kind of second, but they had Ford listed at the top of either. So that leads me to believe that Darrell Williams is really not going to have a legitimate chance to play right tackle unless Nsekhe starts at right tackle, Ford starts at right guard, Dawkins gets hurt, you slide Nsekhe over to left tackle, and then now you're forced to put Williams either at right tackle or right guard with Ford, and then you're switching three positions at once. So it's like, honestly, it's not a great situation right now. This Feliciano injury has kind of like sent a waterfall down the entire offensive line. So hoping he comes back soon. Yeah, Thunder Breeze, get a glassy Savage, says Thunder Breeze.
So here's what I'm going to say right now. Because I'm looking up at my television and I am seeing New England Patriot Rodney Harrison on my screen talking about football. So if you got friends and family that want maybe a more Buffalo Bills centric pregame show, first of all, tune in right here on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, pregame. We will be here. The Bills guys will be pregame this week before Bills Jets. Don't you worry. Part 2 will be coming at you Sunday morning. Text your friends. Text them, Snapchat them, Instagram them, TikTok them, whatever the kids do these days, whatever the adults do these days. Let them know you don't have to settle for Rodney Harrison, folks. You can turn it over right now to the Buffalo Fanatics. Tune into this pregame show and get your Buffalo Bills fix. So if you think the Bills guys are better at Bills talk than the national media writer Rodney Harrison, smash that like, folks. Smash that like. If you hate Rodney Harrison and the New England Patriots as much as I do, smash that like. Smash it, okay? And let's now get into the bread and butter of today's show. My brain has been just on overdrive the last couple of days trying to think about what the Buffalo Bills offense is going to look like in 2020. Not just the Jets game, but the Jets game and beyond. And I've come up with a couple of ideas about what I think the Buffalo Bills offense is going to look like. And I want to run them by you, and I want to run them by my greatest ombudsman, and that is the comment section of this show. I want to run by you my ideas of what this offense is going to look like this year, and I want to hear, Dave, what you think, and I want to hear what the people in the comment sections think.
Okay.
And I want to start by saying I don't think we're going to see a lot of spread offense. I know a lot of people are like, whoa, we have the big three and Beasley and Brown and Diggs, and now Gabriel Davis looks so good in camp. 4 or 5 receivers. We got Isaiah McKenzie. Who needs running backs? Who needs tight ends? Let's spread them out and let it fly. Air raid. I want you to think about the Cleveland Browns last year. Baker Mayfield had a very good rookie season, running a lot of 11 personnel, running a lot of 12 personnel, a lot of play action. And then overnight or over an offseason, Freddie Kitchens decided he wanted to forget everything he ever learned about offensive football. And he wanted to trade for Odell Beckham and transition to a spread offense, despite the fact that they had Nick Chubb, bring in an air raid offensive coordinator in Todd Monken, and it blew up in Cleveland's face. So here, I don't think we're going to see the typical 4 or 5 wide receiver sets. I think with the lack of a fullback, our base personnel this year is going to be 11 personnel. For those of you who don't know what 11 personnel is, it's 3 wide receivers. It'll be Brown, Beasley, and Diggs, a tight end, Dawson Knox, and a running back, either Zach Moss or Devin Singletary.
This is the Rams base.
Yep.
Base personnel. So if you want to get a kind of a comp over the last couple of years to what that looks like, check out the Rams under Sean McVay. They pretty much run exclusively 11 personnel. They've had Todd Gurley in the backfield. Obviously he's not there this year, but between Kupp, Woods, and before Cooks, right? He's now on the team. That's pretty much what they ran. They've run 11 personnel, and they run all their plays almost out of that exclusively. So if that's what you can kind of look to as far as formation wise, what Steve is referring to.
Yeah, and I think that they can use this 11 personnel to their advantage. First of all, everyone thinks Sean McVay is this pass guy. No, he uses the run to set up the pass. He runs the ball just as much as they throw the ball there in Los Angeles. And this 11 personnel, I want you to think about it. We can easily transition from 11 personnel to a spread offense. So picture it. Beasley and Diggs are on one side of the field. John Brown is on the other side of the field. Dawson Knox is in line at tight end blocking. You got Devin Singletary in the backfield. All Dawson Knox has to do is transition out, and we're at 4 wide receivers. You can Josh Allen can see what the linebackers are doing, see what the safeties are doing. It'll help him read the defense. Devin Singletary or Zach Moss can then split out, and all of a sudden we're 5 wide with either Zach Moss and Devin Singletary and Dawson Knox. It's not Patrick DeMarco running down the field like we saw in the Houston game. So you get what the Bills did last year from 11 personnel to spread is they wanted to help Josh Allen read the defense. You can do that with actual football players now, not Patrick DeMarco, which is something I'm really looking forward to. So you can get out to those 4 or 5 receiver sets, just not with wide receivers, using those running backs, using those tight ends. Another thing I think we're going to see this year is inserting Gabriel Davis and taking Cole Beasley out. And when we take Cole Beasley out and put Gabriel Davis in, put Gabriel Davis to himself on one side. He's got the size. He's got the one-on-one ability down the field. He's really good at stacking receivers down the field. And what I want to see is John Brown in the slot and Stephon Diggs on the edge, or John Brown on the edge and Stephon Diggs in the slot. Can you imagine the fits John Brown and Stephon Diggs on the same side of the field are going to give a defense? First of all, down the field, it's going to be an absolute nightmare. Essentially, Josh Allen's going to have his choice of what he wants, the bomb or the curl. One of them's going to run a bomb, the other one's going to run a curl, and someone's going to get faked out. And you can also motion that guy. So picture John Brown on the boundary, who's got that deep speed. The corners have to respect that and play back, right? Stephon Diggs is in the slot. Stephon Diggs motions to the other side of the football field. You can run those jet sweeps to Stephon Diggs. And with the threat of John Brown on that one side of the field, Stephon Diggs can do absolute damage out of that 11 personnel running the jet sweeps if you put him in the slot. So I think 11 personnel is going to be the base of this Bills offense, and I think they're going to do a ton out of it, and I think it's going to be a lot of fun for us to watch on game days. A lot of fun.
Yeah, I kind of tease the idea of having Diggs in the slot, a couple months back or even a few shows back. What I really think is from the clips you're seeing out of camp and out of practice, you really can tell the technician and just the amazing route runner Stephon Diggs is. So to me, if you're giving Beasley a breather in that situation and Gabe Davis is on one side, Stephon Diggs is elite. He can run any route in the book. So you put him in the slot, he can do pretty much anything Cole Beasley can do and probably then some, right, out of that slot. So he's just been making guys look silly in practice. You saw the play, I think it was today or yesterday, where Saran Neal was looking behind his shoulder. He didn't know where Diggs went, and he shook him out of his shoes that badly. So I really like the idea of trying to use Diggs in the slot. Now, the one thing with that is it's going to depend on Gabe Davis, right? Because I don't necessarily think that you want to take Cole Beasley off the field all that much because of what he brings to you in the slot. So it's just going to depend on situations, but it's what a nice option to have if you're the Bills, right? If you want to say throw Gabe Davis on one side and just let him stretch that side of the secondary down the field to open yourself up, over the middle. And not to mention, we didn't even talk about what Dawson Knox is going to be able to do in these formations as well, opening Diggs up. So
yeah,
I would say don't be surprised if Diggs gets a lot of play out of the slot because he's not strictly an outside guy.
Yeah, not to mention, Gabe Davis is what makes that possible too, right? Before Gabe Davis came onto the scene, I don't think any of us really imagined too much of Stephon Diggs in the slot. Gabe Davis and the emergence of Gabe Davis in training camp is what's allowing us to have this conversation, and it's a really fun conversation to have. I want to talk a little bit about 12 personnel. A guy named Tyler Croft. I think he's going to have a bigger role than people expect this year. I think we could see a lot of 12 personnel from the Buffalo Bills as well. For those of you who don't know what 12 personnel is, 2 tight ends, 2 wide receivers, and a running back. And here's where it gets really interesting for the Buffalo Bills. You can transition that 12 personnel into an 11 personnel by splitting Dawson Knox out wide and making him a big slot. I think Dawson Knox is ready for a little bit more on his plate. I think he's going to be more confident this year, and I think it's going to help him better catch the ball because I think he's not going to be thinking so much about what he's doing. It's going to be more natural to him, so he'll be able to concentrate more on catching the football. I wouldn't be surprised to see Dawson Knox as a big slot this year. So you can transition from 12 personnel to 11 personnel by making Dawson Knox your big slot. And also it helps Josh Allen read the defense by seeing how the pieces move on the defensive side of the ball when Dawson Knox moves. I think motion is going to be a big part of this offense this year.
Yeah, and that could benefit Tyler Croft as well, honestly, because Tyler Croft isn't known as like necessarily the best blocker, but he's athletic. His foot's healthy. He's known more as a receiving tight end, right? So they could mix and match that as well. They could send Knox out. They could send Croft out, depending on how much protection they need and which side of the field they need that protection on. So that also gives them options. So
Tim Stook said, did you hear Dable talk about Gabriel Davis? He seems like he thinks you have a lot to learn still. That's how you talk about rookies. Even if he does still have a lot to learn, that doesn't mean that the Buffalo Bills aren't going to have packages on the field for him. I guarantee with the training camp he had and the fact that he's probably going to be the only big body receiver on the team, because I don't think we're going to see Duke Williams called up, Isaiah Hodgins on IR. He's the big body guy. So he's going to have a role, in my opinion, especially in the red zone. Gabe Davis is going to have a role this year. So he'll have packages. I'm not saying he's going to blow up and be like the next Odell Beckham. Like, that's not what I'm trying to say here with Gabriel Davis. But I think he will allow the Bills to transition Stephon Diggs into the slot in certain packages. And that brings me to my next point. And you mentioned Tyler Croft. If the Bills have confidence in Tyler Croft as a tight end in those 12 personnel sets, guess what? Dawson Knox, instead of motioning out, Dawson Knox can motion into fullback. Dawson Knox can play fullback, folks. He's got the athleticism. He was a blocking specialist in college. Dawson Knox has the ability to play fullback, and I wouldn't be surprised if Reggie Gilliam isn't active on game day and Dawson Knox is your fullback. Like on the goal line, it's Lee Smith. It's maybe Ty Nsekhe at tackle or at the other tight end position, and like Darrell Williams at right tackle. So Nsekhe kicks in to play the interior tight end. Tyler Croft in the 3 tight end sets. And Dawson Knox could be your fullback on the goal line. There could be 12 personnel sets where he transitions from tight end, he moves into fullback, and then they run it on him. So there are a number of things I think you could do with Dawson Knox. I think you're going to see him be sort of that Kyle Hughes check style moving piece. I'm not saying it's going to be the whole offense. I think it will be bits and pieces. I don't think they want to throw too much at a guy like Dawson Knox because he's so young, but I think that is probably what you're going to see from him. I got a great question here from Chris McLeese. He says, how many carries do you think you're going to see from Zach Moss? And he says 8 to 10. I think you're going to see probably 10 to 15 touches between Singletary and Moss. And that is between running and catching. I think one guy will be up towards 15, the other guy will be towards 10 for a total of 25-ish touches. If we get a big lead and we're trying to milk it, it could push 30. What do you think?
I mean, this game, I don't know, because I think it's going to be fairly sloppy. So I think if you get to that 25 to 30 range, then if you're the Bills, you're probably doing what you set out to do in this game, because likely Josh Allen's going to add another 5 or 6 carries into that mix as well. So at that point, you're pushing, 35-ish carries on the ground. And if you have a balanced offense in the game, you're talking about that's potentially 65, 70 plays. So I think that's probably the most you'd see. It's probably around that 35 range with Allen's numbers in there. So yeah, I think that makes sense to me. Singletary with maybe that 10 to 12 range, Moss in that 8 to 10 range. But we're going to talk about these matchups here, and this is where I kind of worry a little bit that volume that we may expect here may not exactly be there where we kind of want it to be. So we'll kind of let that be for now.
I mean, speaking of volume, could we see maybe some situations? We saw one highlight from the scrimmage where Zach Moss and Devin Singletary were on the field at the same time, that pony backfield. How much of that do you think we'll see from the Buffalo Bills in week 1? Moss and Devin Singletary sharing a backfield.
In week 1, I don't expect a lot, but I think as the season wears on, you might see it more and more. I don't think the Bills are going to come out and reveal all the cards week 1. I think they're going to come out with a game plan that they think is going to get them the W week 1. and probably hold some things close to the vest that they want to unveil maybe later on early in the season when they have to like play the Chiefs, let's say, on prime time. Like, McDermott needs to learn how to kind of, I mean, it's him and Daboll really, right? They need to learn how to throw a few wrinkles and surprises into the mix so people aren't expecting, the same thing every time, which I think was something we struggled with a little bit last year. So week one, I guess the short answer is not a lot. I wouldn't say it's not going to happen at all, but I wouldn't expect to see it like on every series or every other series.
All right, let's get into the matchups now, because this continues on with the meat and potatoes of this episode. I'm going to put a little graphic up. We're gonna start breaking down the rosters of both of these teams and the depth charts of both of these teams. And let's start with the New York Jets, the Buffalo Bills offensive line, sort of the big uglies for the Buffalo Bills versus that front seven of the New York Jets. The Bills from left to right are going to be Deion Dawkins, Quentin Spain, Mitch Morse, and then some combination of Cody Ford-Tynesecki and probably Darrell Williams. Some combination of that on the right side. I think one of the aspects of the New York Jets that we don't talk about is they are very, 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 very good up front. Quinnen Williams, Steve McClendon, and Henry Anderson is a pretty formidable front. Not to mention Nathan Shepard, Fadakasi, and Kyle Phillips are very good backups. They're going to have a pretty solid rotation, just like the Buffalo Bills do. Now, their linebackers leave something to be desired. Avery Williamson coming off a season-ending injury and a hamstring injury. Neville Hewitt is a little bit on the smaller side, gets pushed around. Terrell Basham, Jordan Jenkins, not much in terms of pass rushers. So getting to Josh Allen might be a problem. But my hottest take is I think that this front is probably going to give the Bills running game some fits. I think the Bills offensive line, I don't think it's this above average, like elite unit that people think it is. It's an average unit. And there's nothing wrong with that, I think, in the modern NFL. But I think it's going to be a struggle for Devin Singletary and Zach Moss to run the football. And I don't think you're going to see the yards per carry and sort of the output from our running backs that people think they're going to see. I think it will come. I just don't know if it's going to come week one. I think our running backs will struggle to get over 4 yards per carry. What are your thoughts on this defensive front of the Jets?
Yeah, I mean, I'm going through my notes, right, as far as like the different positional matchups against, each other, our line, their line, whatever. And this was one of the two areas where I thought the Bills might be at a disadvantage. I was going down like all the matchups, and like there's not many areas where the Bills have a disadvantage in this game personnel wise, but this might be one specific area where you have that. Now, I agree with you that the yards per carry, like this is going to be one of those inefficient running games for the Bills where they could potentially have, like we were saying, that 30 to 35 attempts, but you may only see like 70 to 80 yards out of those attempts, maybe 90, 100, right? Like I think you're going to be under 4 yards a carry, but I think if the Bills take care of business otherwise on offense and play with a lead, they're not going to go away from the run. So while it may be inefficient, they're going to stick to it. And the problem is it's like, I don't think that we're going to expect like a huge, like, I guess it's the efficiency is what I'm talking about, right? We're not going to have a ton of yards per carry, but I think the volume's going to be there. So I think that's the way I look at it. Like we'll get our attempts, we'll get our guys their carries, but I don't expect huge days for either back. Yeah, so we got a lot of Jets fans in the chat, getting their groove on in the chat section. let us know, Bills fans, what do you think? What do you think the Bills are going to do on the ground on Sunday? Are Dave and I overreacting here? Are we too afraid of this Jets defensive line? Heck, the Jets fans even get on it. Like, what do you think about your defensive line? Do you think this is the strong suit of your team? Someone said, what did Singletary do against that front last year? Do you happen to have Devin Singletary's numbers from last year? I'll pull it up while you're talking. Yep.
Cody's betting people that the Bills are going to get the W, which is a pretty safe bet. But that doesn't mean our running game is going to be good. The passing game against the Jets' weak secondary will open up the running game. So Carmen says that the passing game is going to open up the running game, which is what we're going to get to next. I'm gonna go out on a limb and talk about things that I don't usually talk about and suggest a philosophy that I don't usually suggest. Don Kennedy says 200-plus rushing yards easy. I'm not willing to make that.
Singletary was 4 for 70, by the way. He only had 4 carries, but had 70 yards.
So he had one chunk play, yeah.
But if you remember, it came very late in the game. If you recall back to that game, he had those chunk plays at the end where we kind of got into position to kind of, get within a touchdown. But 4 carries, I mean, yes, that's great, but came at the end of the game, and I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I don't expect that efficiency to be super high in this game.
Yeah, we got Christopher Hansen saying Moss will get 100 yards. I'm liking the confidence. I'm just struggling with it a little bit. Let's go to our advantage, and I got some names highlighted here. Obviously, Our quarterback is Josh Allen, our tight end Dawson Knox, wide receiver 1 Stephon Diggs, wide receiver 2 John Brown, and the slot Cole Beasley. I think this is where the Buffalo Bills have an advantage. Pierre Desir does not stand a chance against Stephon Diggs. Bless Austin, who is on the depth chart at least, their number 1 corner. Maybe we'll see Quincy Wilson. We might see Mollett, but my guess is we'll probably see Bless Austin up against John Brown and Cole Beasley versus Brian Poole in the slot. They have some very good safeties. McDougal is a solid veteran safety. Marcus May is a very good center fielder. Ashton Davis, I loved Ashton Davis coming out of college. It seems like he's had a good training camp. So they got some good things going for him up the middle. But those safeties are literally going to have to be thinking about these 2 boundary receivers all day, because these corners are going to struggle against Stephon Diggs and John Brown. I think even Jets fans would be willing to admit that their corners are going to struggle versus these 2 wide receivers. And if the safeties have to start thinking about what's going on in the corner, 2 things are going to happen. 1, all right, let's double Stephon Diggs. Cool. John Brown should be able to work Bless Austin, get open. All right, John Brown's catching a lot of balls. Let's double cover John Brown. Okay, cool. Stephon Diggs should be able to blow around Pierre Desir and get open and make plays. If they decide to double both of them, or really concerned about both of them, then Dawson Knox and Cole Beasley should be able to work the middle of the field. As good of a nickel corner as I think Brian Poole is, can't cover both of them. CJ Mosley ain't walking through that door. He opted out. Middle of that defense with Jamal Adams and CJ Mosley out of the picture are not as strong as they used to be. This game is on Josh Allen, folks. I don't normally say this. I normally am a big fan of throwing between 25 and 32 times a game. I want to see Josh Allen throw between 35 and 40 times this game. Throw, as someone mentioned earlier, throw to set up the run. It's time for Josh Allen to prove he's the franchise guy. Put this game on Josh Allen's shoulders. If we're going to win this football game, it's going to be because Stephon Diggs and John Brown worked the corners like they were supposed to, and Josh Allen delivered the football. That's how we're going to win on Sunday. That and playing really good defense. That's how we're going to win.
No, I mean, I agree. I think, Pierre Desir is a guy. I don't think he's a bad corner. I think he was a guy that maybe we thought about.
Yeah, but Stephon Diggs, but that's the thing. Stephon Diggs is Stephon Diggs. We see what this dude's doing in practice to Trey White.
And if you look at the Jets starting corners with Bless Austin and Desir, they're both 6'1". They're both about 200. So they're more lengthy, rangier guys than they are quicker.
Turn and run guys. Right. They're not turn and run guys.
Right. So I think that knowing that and knowing that John Brown and Diggs are the 2 guys that are going to be going up against them, that has to be in the Bills' advantage, right? Because they're not going to be able to keep up with them on some of the routes that they run. They're not going to be able to be as twitchy as they need to be probably to kind of hang with them on some of these routes. So I do think the Bills have an advantage there. I like Brian Poole too as a nickel corner. I mean, he's been a good player, but Beasley has shown, and even, we'll see what Knox does, but Beasley has shown he can kind of really go match up against any of the corners. And he had a couple of nice plays early on in the game last year, if you remember. So he did have the one drop off his hands, but hey, not going to go back to that. But this is the right philosophy, I think, in this game. Throw to set up the run. I mean, you saw we tried to do that actually early on in the game last year. If you remember, we came out kind of slinging it, and obviously had the unfortunate turnover. But
I expect more of that, and that's the thing. That's the key, not turning it over. I expect a lot of what we saw at the beginning of last year.
Right, exactly. We came out throwing. We had the unfortunate turnover, but kind of got behind because of that. So the Bills should be able to take advantage of this intermediate, the intermediate passing game here. And we didn't even talk about the deep ball at all, which fine. We haven't talked about it, but on paper, the Bills seem to have a clear advantage here. I know there's a Jets fan in the Aiden Rivera is saying how the Jets corners are very underrated. And I'm not saying that they're bad. I don't think they're bad corners. I definitely have respect for Pierre Desir. He was a guy I thought the Bills maybe could go after in the offseason as well. I know Bless Austin's a Rutgers guy, so he's a local guy for the Jets as far as being there. And he's a lengthy guy, so he's got physical attributes that you like at that position. But we're talking about Stephon Diggs, who's one of the best route runners in the NFL, and John Brown had proved he was a complete route runner last year on the outside. So definitely a place where Josh Allen has to do his thing, Steve. I mean, I think you're right. This is on Josh Allen.
Our man Brian Bowers said this game will be completely on Josh Allen's play. He better not F this up. I mean, I'm with you, man. I'm with you. So, all right. So let's transition now to a place where I think the Buffalo Bills have a distinct advantage, and that is on the defensive side of the football.
Oh, yeah.
That is on the defensive side of the football because, first of all, the Jets starting offense lost to the starting defense, 27-6 in their scrimmage a couple of weeks ago. So the Jets starting offense got absolutely worked by the Jets backup defense in a scrimmage a couple of weeks ago. And this is the matchup that I cannot wait to see this matchup. All right. Mekhi Becton is a rookie. And while he is a very promising rookie that I am jealous the New York Jets have for the next decade, Jerry Hughes and Mario Addison are two of the savviest veterans in town. They are going to welcome Mekhi Becton to the National Football League. And I actually think Hughes and Addison, at least until Becton can sort of get his feet wet in the NFL, have the advantage here because they're not like the big, bulky, overpowering type of defensive linemen. They are the very sort of shifty defensive linemen that work their way around you and have a bevy of pass rush moves. I think that's going to play to the advantage against Mekhi Becton. Hughes and Addison going up against Mekhi Becton is going to be key. Ed Oliver, Quentin Jefferson, Vernon Butler, Harrison Phillips against Alex Lewis, Connor McGovern, and Greg Van Roten. I like those matchups on the interior. Here's what I don't like. Trent Murphy starting at left end. I get that he's a solid set of the edge.
And Daryl Johnson's technically the second string left end.
Daryl Johnson is technically the second string left end. We might not even see AJ Epinesa week one. I would like to see from the Buffalo Bills Mario Addison lining up at left end because I really want to take advantage of George Font. While I think George Font is a fine tackle, he's kind of like a Jordan Mills. Like, you can beat him. You can beat him. He's not gonna be the most embarrassing right tackle in the world, but you can beat him. So move Mario Addison over there. And here's also what I want to see. This is a brand new offensive line. They've had barely any time to work together. You want to know what I want to see the Buffalo Bills doing on Sunday? I want to see the stunts. I want to see the tackles moving to the edge, the defensive ends trying to move inside, the linebackers try to fool them with the stunts. I think Sam Darnold's life is going to be a living hell on Sunday because I think Leslie Frazier is going to be wise enough to know he can run stunts all day versus this brand new offensive line that hasn't had a lot of time to communicate with one another. I think the defensive line can overwhelm this offensive line and shut down their running game. And their receivers have not had a lot of time to work with Sam Darnold because they've been hurt, and they're all fairly green to the system. So I love what the Buffalo Bills offer in the front seven compared to what the Jets are bringing on their offensive line.
Yeah, and obviously, I mean, for me, the focus there is on the interior, right? I think I'm with you. I think Trent Murphy probably would be a nice combination to have him maybe play on early downs and get Addison in there on passing downs at the left end to pair, to play opposite of Hughes on passing downs. You're going to get that push from Oliver and Butler up the middle. I like the idea of kind of getting pressure in Donald's face up the middle. You force him to roll out. What are these receivers going to be able to do? Are they going to be able to improvise? I mean, I trust Milano to be able to handle that, to be able to handle those types of rollouts. I trust the safeties to be able to handle those rollouts from Darnold. So the pressure up the middle is what I'm really going to be focused on. I'm not going to worry too much, honestly, if there's not a ton of edge pressure, just because I think the Jets are probably going to, if they're smart, game plan to have Darnold work on the quick passing game. One, it gets it out of his hand a little bit quicker. And two, with the receivers being as green as they are, it's probably easier for them as well. So I want to see the pressure up the middle. That's what I want to focus on. There's no reason the Bills shouldn't have a clear advantage there on this front seven going up against the Jets offensive line. So yeah, that's what I want to see.
And I think I absolutely love the back and forth in the comment section, going back and forth between we're hardly getting like any questions today because everyone's just having at it with the Jets fans, and that's quite all right. I like watching the banner as we talk here, but I think Matt Milano and Tremaine Edmonds are going to be the deciding factors in this game. I think the defensive line is going to be so stout up front against these guys. Between the rotation that we run is going to give these offensive linemen so many fits. Matt Milano and Tremaine Edmonds are going to be able to do whatever they want, whether it's getting into the backfield to pressure the quarterback, whether it's getting into the backfield to pressure the linebacker or to pressure the running backs, whether it's dropping back into coverage and having Sam Darnold making high risk throws because he's under pressure. I think our linebackers, Tremaine Edmonds and Matt Milano, are going to be the game breakers. One of them is going to make a play on Sunday that's going to just absolutely wow you. Like a game, I'm not going to say a game-changing play because I think the Bills are going to win this game easily, but they're going to make a play that stands out, and multiple plays that stands out. But I expect one of them to make a legit a sack that you remember, a fumble, forced fumble recovery that you remember, an interception that you remember. I expect one of these two guys to make one of those kind of plays because they are that good and they're going to have that much room to roam with this defensive line working that offensive line from them. But that is up to the defensive line to do their job. They got to do their job. If the Buffalo Bills defensive line gets pushed around by this offensive line, I got some concerns because we weren't prepared for this football game.
I have some concerns too. And I'm just looking at our graphic. Is it backwards for the Jets? Or is it backwards for us? Because I think, I don't know. It might be. But
what are you looking at here?
I was just visually, I was just looking at the way they would line up. I would think the Jets offensive line should be flipped around, should it not? I don't know.
The right tackle goes against the left end, right? And the right end goes against the left tackle?
Maybe it's just the way just the way I'm looking at it. I don't know. All right. Anyway, but yeah, I agree with you. This could be one of those, again, coming out parties for Tremaine Edmonds to make an early case for his defensive player of the year candidacy, right? Gets a couple picks, maybe sack or two.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, here is my next proposition for you. There are 140 people in this chat room right now and only 60 likes. If you think the Buffalo Bills will get 5+ sacks on Sunday, hit that like button, smash that like button if you think the Buffalo Bills are going to get 5 or more sacks on Sunday. And that brings us, ladies and gents, to our final matchup. And this is the one thing that has me concerned, or this is another thing that has me concerned, and it's a slight concern. It's a smaller concern. All right, Sam Darnold, obviously the quarterback, Bell and Gore in the backfield. I think Bell and Gore are going to struggle all accounts. They struggled all training camp, and I think our defensive line is going to work their offensive line. I'm not really worried at corner. Levi Wallace will probably be going up against Denzel Mims or Chris Hogan, whoever plays there at wide receiver 2. I think Hogan will work in because Perryman and Mims are both sort of struggling with injuries. Trey White going up against Brashad Perryman. I like that matchup. Jamison Crowder caught 12 balls. 14 balls. But it was for 70 yards.
99 yards. I looked it up before. 14 for 99 week 1.
My biggest concern, and this is always my concern with the Bills defense, we saw it against the Houston Texans last year in the playoffs. Everybody does their job, but the quarterback still manages to make sort of a freestyle play that blows up our defense. And Chris Herndon and Jamison Crowder are two very good safety blankets, as well as Le'Veon Bell. And Sam Darnold, as much as I like to rip on Sam Darnold, I respect Sam Darnold. I respect Sam Darnold as a quarterback. I think he's got small hands. I don't think he's meant, I think that makes him struggles. No joke. I really think his hands lead to his turnovers. I think he has trouble gripping the football, things of that nature. So he struggles with the turnovers, but he also makes those plays. We've seen him do it to the Buffalo Bills on 5-6 occasions now, where he rolls out of the pocket, everything looks dead, and Sam Darnold makes a play. And when you got guys like Jamison Crowder, Chris Herndon, and Le'Veon Bell, there are plenty of guys to make some plays. When the defense does everything right, but something breaks down because the quarterback just is able to hang on to that ball a little bit longer. That's really my only concern. Is Crowder, Herndon, or Bell making those chunk plays when our defense has everything sort of covered? Are you concerned about that as well?
Yeah, I mean, those are their 3 top options. Those are going to be their 3 top options in this game, right? I mean, Herndon obviously last season was a wash for him. I think he had 1 catch. He had the suspension, and then he came back and never really played because he got hurt. But he had that nice chemistry with Darnold at the end of 2018, and he's a good player. And look, Darnold has burned us on plays like this in the past. You remember that game up in Orchard Park, Josh Allen's rookie year, where we were ahead, and Darnold made some of those types of plays. Crowder has eaten us alive in the 2 games that he played against us last year. I know the last game of the year was against backups, but the dude has 22 catches against us in 2 games last year. So you need to be aware where Jamison Crowder is, especially because you don't have guys like Robbie Anderson this year to worry about on the other side. Brashard Perryman's a good receiver, but Trey White's going to be able to lock him down all game. And Denzel Mims is a rookie who is also, by the way, battling a hamstring injury that he's been battling most of training camp.
Perryman's been battling. He's had knee swelling. He just got back on the practice field. Chris Hogan's going to play a lot on the boundary, and Chris Hogan is not a boundary corner or a boundary receiver anymore, folks. So
so to me, it comes down to Crowder running crossing routes all over the field. If Milano can chase him down across the field, which you know he struggled with week 1 last year.
Teron Johnson and the safeties are gonna play a big role.
They will, and then Bell out of the backfield, right? You don't want your back to get turned to that. You don't want your back to get turned to the back, running away from him when Le'Veon Bell gets the ball out of the backfield. Because, look, say what you want about him. He's still a very good player when he gets in space. He's able to make guys miss. He has great balance. He just kind of glides, and he can make yards. So I like Sam Darnold personally. I think he's going to be a good quarterback. The Jets haven't done a ton to help him out. I mean, I know they're trying to, but he can make a few plays with some of these guys. The question is like, the Bills have to know where it's coming from this game, right? There's not the volume of playmakers that maybe, not that they've had a ton of playmakers, but this is fair. Mims is a stud. I love him in the draft. And but he's also injured and he's a rookie and it's his first game and there's been no preseason. So my biggest, he might have a good game. I don't know, but
my biggest concern, and this is sort of a couple of, was this maybe even a decade ago? Do you remember the last time the Jets took a guy in the second round? It was like, I can't remember the name. He was from Georgia Tech. Everyone thought he was going to be the next Demaryius Thomas. Was it Hill maybe? Stephen Hill. Stephen Hill. Remember Stephen Hill? Everyone's like, oh, he's not a developed receiver yet. He's a rookie. And he worked us for like 100 and some odd yards and 2 touchdowns that game.
And then he did nothing else the rest of his
career. And then he did nothing else the rest of his career. So, all right, that brings us, ladies and gentlemen, into the Q&A portion of the show. We'll make our predictions at the end, along with a Thursday night football prediction. So we are now fully in your hands in the comment section, and we will start with Cody Finney. He said, put Trey on island with Crowder. Whomever wins CB2, put on Mims. Put Poyer into box and have Poyer and Johnson on Hogan. Stack the box. Easy dub. That is something that I've mentioned on this show before. If the Buffalo Bills are really concerned about Jamison Crowder, and I don't think they'll start the game like this, but if Teron Johnson gets worked in the first half, if Teron Johnson gets absolutely worked by Jamison Crowder in the first half, could you see a world where Jaquan Johnson moves to strong safety and Jordan Poyer gets moved into the slot to cover Jamison Crowder, or Micah Hyde gets moved to the slot and Jaquan Johnson? Jaquan Johnson has impressed, and he played well. He played well against the Jets last year in Week 17 against their starters. If Teron Johnson sucks, he flat out cannot handle Jamison Crowder. Can you imagine a world where the Bills this early in the season cave and maybe start moving their safeties around a little bit?
I will say I think that's more realistic than them putting Trey White shadow coverage on Jamison Crowder. I just don't see Trey White coming into the inside. And also,
we're too light on the boundary. We're too light on
the boundary. And also, to be honest with you, I don't want Levi Wallace on Brashard Perryman. If Perryman's healthy, I don't think that's a good matchup for Levi Wallace.
Levi struggles to turn and run with receivers. And what does Brashard Perryman do? He catches that deep ball really well. Yeah, so you don't want Brashard Perryman running past Levi Wallace if he struggles to turn and run.
Exactly. So that's why I think it's more realistic that we see the safety switch than we do see Trey White. Like just take Perryman out of the game if you're the Bills. Just take Perryman out of the game, put Trey White on Perryman, and do what you can to contain Crowder. So I think I don't know that we're going to see it, but I think it's more likely than putting Trey on Crowder, I'll say.
Is there a chance that we could see Isaiah McKenzie covering Jamison Crowder?
Yeah, maybe. If Teron Johnson sucks, if Poyer gets hurt, no, it's not going to happen.
someone says, does Andre Roberts finally break one? The Jets have a pretty solid special teams unit from what I remember. Brian Boyer is their special teams coach. He's a pretty solid special teams coach, so I doubt it. But Andre Roberts missed the opener against the Jets last year, and he's a former Jet, and he did not leave New York on good terms. I remember to this day, he tweeted. He doesn't have a Twitter anymore, but he tweeted after the Jets cut him, like, what the fuck? He was like, are you serious? And I literally tweeted, I'm like, come to Buffalo, bro. And like literally like 16 hours later, he was a Buffalo Bill. And I was like, holy shit. Like I called it. I felt really proud of myself. And then he deleted the tweet. So I couldn't even take credit for it.
Now, did they cut him or was he a free agent?
I believe maybe they just didn't re-sign him. I don't remember the details.
Either way, I mean, he was not happy about the departure.
We got like 30 Jets fans in the chat. So Jets fans, let us know about Andre Roberts, how much you miss him and how he left and why it was on bad terms. But we are open, ladies and gentlemen, in the comment section. Let us know what you want to talk about. We are about 30 minutes to kick off. Someone said better chance of seeing Marlowe put in than Jaquan. I don't think about that. I don't think it's safety. No, I think the Bills really like Jaquan Johnson at safety. I think Marlowe is the fourth safety. I think Marlowe is more of a. I'll give you this, Chris Janke. If it's Micah Hyde they want to put on Jamison Crowder, then yes, I will agree with you, because maybe Dean Marlowe is a better center fielder than Jaquan Johnson, but I think the Bills have a higher regard for Jaquan Johnson as a safety than Dean Marlowe. Dean Marlowe is a special teamer, a big nickel corner, and a backup emergency center fielder if Micah Hyde gets hurt. That's Dean Marlowe's role on this team. I think Jaquan Johnson's got more upside there, and I think Jaquan Johnson is the better prospect there than a Dean Marlowe. So I'm with you a little bit there, Chris.
So Spin0481 asks, how many games this year will Moss and Singletary both have over 100 total yards on offense?
The old Fred Jackson, CJ Spiller. Oh, I think they could do it to the Dolphins. I'd have to look at the schedule. I'm sure each week I really invest myself in the schedule and look at the matchups. Off the top of my head, I can't think of any team. The Dolphins, like I said, the Dolphins maybe. Maybe we play the Patriots and we decide that the Patriots are just too good in the secondary and we want to smash it down their throat because they did have a lot of players opt out. So maybe one of the Patriots games we go with like an Alabama approach and just try to run the ball 40 times a game. Like I could picture that. I could picture us going into a Patriots game and saying, "Yeah, Josh, we love you, but Bill Belichick's a freaking genius." And you played it like.
Maybe if we get in a shootout against the Chiefs, you never know.
I mean, so
that could be one. I don't know. Probably not more than like 2 or 3. Maximum.
I just saw total yards. I was thinking rushing yards this whole time. I think total yards is more doable than rushing yards, of course.
Yeah.
But it should be interesting.
All right. So let's see what we've got here. If they change his depth chart because Milano doesn't have a backup, is it Delshon Phillips?
Here's my take on the depth chart. The depth chart is garbage. You can throw it out. In my opinion, the Bills depth chart at weak side linebacker is Matt Milano, then it's AJ Klein. At middle linebacker, it's Tremaine Edmonds, and then it's AJ Klein. And at strong side linebacker, it is AJ Klein, and then it is Tyrell Dodson. I really think, and then Delshon Phillips can sort of be the third on either side. I truly believe that if Matt Milano or Tremaine Edmonds went down, it's going to be AJ Klein becoming one of the 2 down linebackers. As much as I hate to admit that, like our linebacker depth is that bad. He might not be the most athletic guy in the world, but he's got experience in Sean McDermott's system. He's a veteran. He's savvy. I think he would get the call if one of those 2 went down. It would be AJ Klein as the backup and then Tyrell Dodson filling in at strong side linebacker.
Yeah, and I would tend to agree with that as well. F the Jets says, how many picks do we get in week 1?
This must be F the Jets' favorite show of the year, getting to just razzle back and forth.
I think we get 1. I'll say 1. I don't know. I don't see. We weren't a big takeaway outfit last year, so maybe that changes this year. But I'm going to say we get 1. I'll say 1. I'm
going to go with 2, but one of them's like a garbage time pick. We got a super chat here from Akash, and I really appreciate it. He says Joe Marino Twitter. Chance Epinesa inactive, 4 dress DNs. Daryl Johnson over AJ for special teams. Thoughts? I actually responded to Joe on this, and I like Joe. I respect Joe. It was a great take. It's a great take. And the depth chart would sort of hint towards that, right? Daryl Johnson being ahead of A.J. Epinesa. But if I'm the Buffalo Bills, why wouldn't you? Like, I'm sorry, you have Matt Milano, Tremaine Edmonds, A.J. Klein, Tyler Matakevich, Tyrell Dodson, and Delshon Phillips. 6 linebackers on a roster this good. Why not sit Delshon Phillips or sit Tyrell Dodson? Use Daryl Johnson as the linebacker on special teams, and keep that extra defensive end. You know what I'm saying? Like, take the linebacker out and make Daryl Johnson the extra defensive end as opposed to sitting AJ Epinesa. I think there's a possibility we just go 5 active linebackers and 9 active defensive linemen. I think that's an opportunity. As Bobby said, you got to dress a second rounder. It wouldn't surprise me if we did it for 1 or 2 weeks, but that's not something you can do long term. I just don't picture it.
And again, depth charts remember are trash at this point of year. They have just look at the Washington football team. They have J.D. McKissick listed as their starting running back. The Rams have Malcolm Brown listed as their starting running back. So
who's got J.D. McKissick? The Redskins? Who's got?
Yeah.
It's going to be Robinson. It's going to be Chris Thompson because they're both on my fantasy team.
Well, Chris Thompson's on the Jags, but yeah.
Wait, who'd you say? McKissick? Who's McKissick?
McKissick's on the Washington football team.
Those are the 2 teams that are so bad that I get them mixed up. Yeah, that's Bryce Love and Antonio Gibson.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yep. And they still have Peyton Barber as well, who's going to get in the mix. So they have just a cluster F of guys there. We got a good question here from Aiden, who's the Jets fan. What's your final prediction for the Bills' offensive line? I think my final prediction for at least for week 1 to start out of the gates is probably going to be obviously Dawkins, Spain, and Morse, and then I think it'll be Ford at right guard and Secchi at right tackle. That'd be my prediction for the first going round.
That's my prediction as well, but Darrell Williams at right guard and Cody Ford at right tackle wouldn't surprise me.
Right.
Just because we mentioned it before, Ty and Secchi, they might want to keep him healthy because he's that swing tackle, which I disagree with, but.
Chris, your Chris Janke stan, you over there, Steve. Maybe you can answer this one for Chris. One thing we have no clue about right now is how good our rookies are at special teams. Do we know how good Epinesa or Gabriel Davis is? I don't think either one of them are going to play special teams.
Gabe Davis played special teams at UCF from the scouting reports I read.
So he might.
Yeah,
but I don't think Epinesa will.
And that's one of the pitfalls of not being able to be at St. John Fisher this year. That's the pitfalls of the reporters not being able to report. A lot of these roster cutdown decisions, like Delshon Phillips, came down to special teams. Reggie Gilliam came down to special teams, and we weren't there to see it. So, that's one of the things that was a pitfall this year. So it'll be really interesting. This is the first week where they can't hold their cards. They can't hide their cards anymore. They got to show their cards this week. So it'll be really interesting. Cody Finney with come on, guys, only 82 likes, push it over 100. If you think the Buffalo Bills are going to win on Sunday, if you think the Buffalo Bills are going to beat the New York Jets on Sunday, smash that like. Smash that like if you think the Buffalo Bills are going to beat the New York Jets this Sunday. Let us hear it. All right. Anything else? Anything more?
We just answered that. Here's a hot take from Christopher McLeese. And thanks, Christopher, for being a subscriber on YouTube. Even hotter take, Davis outperforms Diggs and Brown on Sunday.
I'm gonna pull an Adam Gase. I'm gonna pull an Adam Gase here and just be like, "What?"
The googly eyes.
What? That is a hot take.
That's hot. But hey, you know what? Come with the hot takes week 1 because week one is the most unpredictable week of the NFL season. So hey, you know what? Crazier things have happened. It's not bad. I can only smash like so many times.
Rick James can smash whatever he wants whenever he wants. Come on now.
Very important question here from Bobby. When are we getting that Steve Manson demo asking for a friend?
Maybe I can shave the shoulders 1 week, and then just slowly start working my way down.
Yeah, I think we have the technology now to do the blurred screen if we have to, so we can take care of that. We haven't really talked. I mean, we talked a little bit about L. Oliver getting pressure up the middle, but what do you? I mean, I guess to expand on F the Jets question here, and thanks for being a subscriber as well. what are you expecting from Ed Oliver early in the season? Do you expect him to be, to come out of the gates hot, come out of the gates strong, like really make his presence felt early, or do you expect him to take a little bit of time to work himself in?
I expect Ed Oliver to make the year 3 jump in year 2. I think he's that good. I think he's that motivated. I think he has a lot to prove this year. I think he was pissed off this offseason about what happened to him. I think he's going to come out on fire. And I think the crux and what the foundation of what this defense is built around is interior pressure. Like Sean McDermott wants his defensive ends to play smart, set the edge, and be there to wrap up. And he wants that pressure to come from the interior. So I really am looking forward to Ed Oliver this season. All right. We are closing in on kickoff. We're about 10 minutes away, but in reality, it's probably 15 because we know how TV likes to do it. So let's do it right now, folks. Post your game picks in the comment section. We will share ours. We will share yours. Let's do it up, folks. Let's share those game picks. And again, smash that like if you think the Buffalo Bills are going to win. Dave, do you want me to start with the game pick this week?
Yeah, and let's just so just so the viewers know how Steve and I used to do this on the podcast, we pick the game picks, and we kept track of our record for the picks throughout the entire season last year. So we're going to do the same thing this year. And I think to make it more fair this year, what we're probably going to do is we're going to alternate who picks first each week so that the person picking second can't, it's not always the same person picking second, so they can pick the same thing. So you'll lead us off this week, and then I'll go next week, and we'll switch it up. So we'll do it that way, and we'll see.
We don't use spreads. We don't use spreads here, people. This is just a straight game pick. All right. Prediction. Speaking of picks, if you're ever
we also
use manscaped.com.
We do like to keep track of our points, though. Like if we're close on the points. So
how about we do that this year? Whoever's closer on the point, if we both win, whoever's closer, like in the score range, maybe gets the dub that week. How about that?
Gets like an extra half a win or something.
Yeah, we can work out the science on that this year.
All right. That sounds good. I like that.
We'll work on it as we go along. We'll critique it, and we'll probably critique it in a fashion that makes me the winner. But all right, let's get started here. I'm just going to read it straight off of my article on the BuffaloFanatics.com this week. If you haven't checked it out, I did a game preview. I broke down what the Jets offense looks like, what the Bills defense looks like, what the Bills offense looks like, what the Bills defense looks like, essentially what we talked about today. So if you want to get caught up, you can either check the article over on the BuffaloFanatics.com or check us on the pregame show Sunday morning. But my prediction, the New York Jets have had a turbulent training camp. They have numerous new starters on both sides of the ball in a season where there is less practice and installation time than ever. In their scrimmage, the Jets starters lost to the Jets backups 27-6. The Bills starters, on the other hand, easily handled the backups in their scrimmage. If the Bills do not win this game handedly, I will be concerned. Bills 27, Jets 13.
And it's a good prediction, right? I think we have a lot of. I'm just going to run through some of the predictions in the comment section before I get to mine because I want everyone's kind of predictions.
Me and Rick James are in sync. He said
Pierre has the Bills 59-10. Zach Allen, Bills 38, Jets 13. Christopher Heimberger, Bills 24, Jets 10. Cody's got the Bills 37-13. Carmen Pagano, Bills 27, Jets 20. Richard 29-23 Bills. So we've got a lot of, obviously, everyone's picking the Bills. I'll say this, okay? All those reasons you mentioned are totally valid. Everything you mentioned is totally valid. It's really difficult to know how these teams are going to come out of the gate and, in a situation where there was no preseason. I think it's going to be a little sloppier than usual the first couple games because you usually have a little bit more chance to work that out during the preseason. And in my mind, a sloppier game favors the worst team because I think it means that team's likely to hang around a little bit longer maybe than they would have otherwise. So I'm still picking the Bills to win, but I don't think they're going to hang a 40 spot on the Jets week 1. So I'm going to pick the Bills to win. I'm going to say 24-10 Bills.
All right. I like it. So we got a couple comments coming in. Billy Stevens, 40-13. Dr. Meme, Bills 35-0. F the Jets 31-0. It's really hard to shut out a team in the modern day National Football League. The game is starting. Chiefs, Texans, who you got?
Chiefs are going to win tonight.
Texans beat the spread?
What is it, 9.5? It's pretty big.
Oh,
spread,
is it a big? Is it that big?
Yeah,
it was 4.5.
Let me check.
I got it right. Damn.
Is it 9.5?
The Texans aren't that bad. It's 9.5. I'm taking the Texans, folks. Holy shit. Actually, Bill O'Brien in a shortened offseason, that dude doesn't know how to coach.
I mean, I think not having fans there is an advantage for the Texans since they're an Arrowhead, but I do think the Chiefs win. The Chiefs were my Super Bowl pick this year. I think they come out guns blazing. Mahomes going to want to have a little bit redemption from his shortened season last year where he was a little bit hurt. And no Nuke Hopkins for the Texans this year, although Will Fuller's likely to drop 300 receiving yards.
We're going to see, but here's the thing. Here's what I will say. Like, even with no Nuke Hopkins, they have Randall Cobb, Kiki QT, Will Fuller, Brandon Cooks, and who's the other guy? I'm blanking on one. They got another one. Kenny Stills. Plus they have Duke Johnson.
Jordan Akins. They got Jordan Akins at the time. Yep.
Yeah, Jordan Akins plus Duke Johnson and
David
Johnson. They're going to run a college spread this year. And Deshaun Watson was filthy in college in his spread. So I think the Houston Texans could surprise people. I think they're going to suck on defense this year.
Oh, Zach's saying there's 14K in attendance tonight. I didn't realize that they were having any.
There are fans in Kansas City.
Oh, then I'll say Chiefs cover then. Chiefs cover the 9.5.
They're putting them in bubbles. They're putting them in bubbles. You have to show up with people. Like they separate them. Yeah, they sort of like they did for their scrimmage. They showed pictures of them tailgating. There is 14K in attendance. They're going to socially distance them. So some stadiums allow that. Good for them. New York State does not. We're not going to talk about that. But all right, folks, let's be real here. Football is back. That's what we want to watch. So we're going to head out of here. But catch us Sunday morning. What time do you want to start? Do you want to start 10, 10:30, 11? What do we want to do tomorrow? 11:30?
I say we start around 11 because then we can do like an hour and a half and give everyone a good like 30 minutes to kind of settle in before the game. Watch, we don't want to necessarily take it right up to game time. We got to people to settle in. So maybe we go like from like 11 to like 12:15 or so to 12:30.
I think I'm trying to convince Jay Spence to come over here because I got Sunday ticket. Jay Spence hasn't decided his plans yet. So maybe if Jay Spence rolls over, I'll hop on for like a halftime show with Jay Spence too. So
there you go.
Who knows what we can do? But yeah, catch us pregame Sunday morning, apparently 11 o'clock. Dave is the final decision maker on that. But I wanted to start at midnight, man. I wanted to go 24 hours or something, but I don't think anyone else was on board with that.
I don't think you have enough bottles of wine to get.
I could probably filibuster and do it. My fiance would probably leave me before the wedding if I tried to filibuster and do it all myself. But ladies and gentlemen, catch us Sunday morning. Catch the Rico Report tomorrow night. You know how it is. It's the Buffalo Fanatics, 7 days a week, 7 podcasts, 7 multicasts, daily articles, daily Instagram stories. Join the Flick Chat tonight.
And get your
chat
toner.
with BF. Get your wine out. Let's forget our troubles for the next 3 hours, and let's watch some football. Until Sunday morning, ladies and gentlemen, go Bills.
Go Bills.